Hello, it's a new month. Whenever you see this, just know it's a new month from this end. And I'm wishing you a happy new month. I'm Amanda Elu, and welcome to another episode of Faith on the Street. When we lose a loved one, especially as Christians or whoever you are, we are expected not to over grieve, whatever that means, because we should have hope in resurrection for Christians. And oftentimes, nobody tells us how to go about it as a human being because we are humans. And while we need the grace to, sail across the sea of pain and grief, we're still humans, and it's still difficult to live with the fact that someone you love, someone you used to see, you used to know, does not exist in the same space as you anymore. On this episode, I would like to talk to a couple of people who I am so grateful have granted me this opportunity. I'd like to talk to them on their journey of grief in losing their loved ones. The essence is for persons who have lost one loved one or the other to understand that first, you're not alone. Secondly, it is normal. Some of the things they feel are very normal because you're going to be hearing people recount their experiences. And also would like to know the place of faith in all of this, the place of God in all of this. And as you already can see, I have somebody who is willing to do this with me. Today, I'm just going to let her introduce herself. First of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this with me.
You're welcome.
I understand the vulnerability involved in all of this. And I know this could, remind you of so many things you hope to forget. But thank you so much for doing this with me. What's your name?
My name is Goodness Nchedochukwu.
So at some point, you're going to stop closing your eyes. All right, so now that we've established this, the topic, we've established what we want to talk about, I would want to ask you, first of all, how are you feeling right now, in connection to the loved ones or loved one you've lost?
Well, I'm taking it one step at a time. This month is supposed to herald her 22nd birthday, so this month alone is for me, but well, what can I say?
So when you say her, do you want to tell us who you lost and just a few things, just the background, so we know what you're going through a bit?
Okay, she's my baby sister. She suffered brain tumor for like 14 years of her life, almost 14 years of her life. Although God was wonderful. At least she went through the first surgery. She had to move on with life. Even in her condition, she was able to complete primary school, complete secondary school. We were making plans for her to start a job this January. And then October told us you people should start making plans, that kind of thing. Yeah, October last year. Yeah, just exactly. It's not actually a year she died, but she died January this year. So, but as at October last year, the whole scenario started, signs of the tumor again started showing up again. So, because I was there the first time, I was now telling my parents, I feel this thing has grown back. I mean, let's go for scan and check if this thing is true, because she was having difficulty in balance. She could fall, she could not hold anything anymore. And then I think my father actually listening to me, knowing that we went the first time, said, okay, let's go and go for a test. And we then found out that, okay, the tumor has grown back. We started with physiotherapy, everything. And for her, she was too young with the pain she was going through. She doesn't sleep at night, because there were nights when she would tell me, sister, I cannot sleep, my head is breaking into two, severe headaches. I could literally keep a cold towel on her head and then it's warm. By the time I give it 5 minutes, it's already warm. So I felt more. But when she died, actually the night before she died, I was with her. Yeah, so we were in the same room. After eating, she told one of our brothers. Then I said, please come and be checking me every 4 hours. Weird thing, right? Very weird thing. But and then when I think that night before she passed on, she was like, sister, that since this thing started, I've not been able to sleep, that she wants to sleep. And I believe she slept, and she's still sleeping.
As well. God rest her soul. Yeah. After this episode of her death, what was it like for you? In all ramifications, what was it like for you generally?
At first, I was in denial. Okay, how could someone I was with the night before, and I could, when you wake up, and the funny thing, I didn't even know she was gone, because that night was very weird for me, because I share a room with her. So it was actually my mom. Because when the whole thing, I called my parents. I don't understand what was going on. My sister is talking in her sleep. I don't get it. And then my mom came in the morning and touched me and named me her was. She said, "Nche don't want my own go." That was my mom's thing. I was like, "Mommy, what are you saying?" It was yeah. My child has died. So, and I was like, "Mommy, what are you saying?" I couldn't believe it. I touched my sister's body. It was cold. I couldn't. I thought I made me wake up. Mommy, wake up. She be because before we came back, my younger sister had already promised to bring her pizza the coming Sunday. We're like, Shebi, did not even wait for the pizza. Things like that. I was in Ghana. Then, I was like, this should be a dream. Maybe let her just wake up, because before then she was having series of situation whereby she passes out for a few minutes and she wakes up. So I thought it was going to still be like that, and then when it dawned on me that she was gone was when they put the woman that came to take, these people that take care of dead bodies or so, they poured in this hot drink into her system, and there was foam coming out in her mouth. And according to my mom, it's obvious she's gone. So it was just denial first, and then when it dawned on me, they bought casket, because before she died, she requested she shouldn't be kept in the mortuary, that she should be buried immediately. So, yeah, somehow she knew she was gonna leave.
Any idea why she would say that? No, keep her in the morgue or something? Why?
I don't know. I never. She was just, when I don't think it was out of costs. I don't think it was out of cost, because the morning she died, we were supposed to go get visas for our trip to the hospital where she was treated before. So I think all those, and I think she already knew she was going to go and didn't want us to spend more. I didn't. Yeah, I think she didn't want us to spend more treating her anymore. And I can remember one of those words, "Sister, I don't want you to stop your life for me again." Things like that. Yeah. So she was like, "Okay." But first of all, it was denial. I couldn't believe it. Like, I look at my sister; she's now a corpse, and then somebody's referring to your sister. So, oh no.
I'm sorry about this. I'm really, really sorry about this. You want us to take some time out? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. She's a strong woman, actually. And yes, I think I think at this point I'd like to give her just a bit of space to breathe. Something. Now she's breathing. More like it. Thank you so much for still doing this with us. Okay, so I know there are stages to grief, and I don't want to use the mechanical or what we already know. I want you to tell me for you how it was like. So it was denial at first, and then you began to accept it or something. What happened next?
Denial, then fear. Fear. Okay, when she died on the 26th of January, or maybe she was presumed dead, because obviously she died on the early hours of 26th of January. She was buried the same day, because we had to go back home. And on returning home, I couldn't sleep in that room. Coupled with the fact that the night before, like I said, the atmosphere in the room was weird. I could feel there were some things, like aside the fact that we're Christians, her death made me understand there are forces we don't see.
Oh really? Tell me about it.
There are things that happen around us that we don't know happen, and it only takes animals, especially dogs or cats, and then people who are transitioning onto that realm to see those things, because when I stepped into our room after her burial, I remembered the atmosphere in our room, because before that day she was discussing whilst she was supposed to be sleeping, and the discussion was as if she was with some people. Now the discussion was so familiar, like, when you're talking to someone you already know. That was how that discussion was. So I was like, I remember asking her, who were you talking to? I asked her, were you dreaming? She said yes. Oh yeah, who were you talking to? She couldn't tell me. Meaning, and then, as a human being, I knew the atmosphere was heavy. So fear. I couldn't sleep in that room for like a few days. Even then, the day I managed to stay in the room, I couldn't sleep. I was just awake. And it took me time to really adapt to her absence. She was my, I cannot say I'm not even used to it. I have not accepted, or will I say adapting to the absence, because I remember her whenever I'm dressing up, and then, sister, don't wear this one. She was like my personal stylist, So most times you feel like, oh, if she was here, things like that. So that's that, the denial, the fear, and then trying to get used to the fact that she is no longer with you. There's no how. I can thank God for a phone. I can remember her taking my phone, making videos. You need to see the ones she made in my mom's phone, as if she knew she was going, so she left enough memories for everybody. So I'm trying to understand, what of those who their people died and there was no memory of them, there was no picture, nothing.
Probably they had a fight.
Exactly. So, and things like that. So, but we're in the area where there is a phone and there's Snapchat and there are people that make videos and you save them in your phone. There's Google Mail. At least when it dawns on me sometimes, and I want to just, when it feels like I'm forgetting her, I just play that video.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this. This is not me being insensitive. I do not know, and some other people do not know. So I'd like to ask you. So you have the memories of her, a digital memory of her. Is it even advisable to keep some of these things and keep going back? Wouldn't it regurgitate the pain? Don't you think it is of? I would think that not going back to those things would be the best.
Everybody has their way of yes, dealing with grief. That's the word. Now the point here is this: I know she's no more. I have accepted the facts currently. The void that her absence has created will always be there, no matter how I try to make you feel like the void will be there. Like I said, if I'm in her birth month, I know how she always. I remember anytime we enter October, then sister is October, you do cake for me, Abby, things like that. Do you understand? Now, she's the only one that clamors for cake. She has a twin brother, so she actually clamors for the birthday gifts more than her brother. So I remember from 1st October, sister remember, oh, sister remember. So on the 1st of October, I was too emotionally down to even say Happy New Month to anyone. And that's the truth. Because this month, I expected, sister, you have entered my birth month to thing, that kind of thing. So, and if I should, things that will remind me of her, like her birth month, her birthday, the day she died, knowing I was there, it's those are days that I know if I literally have to step into a similar date in subsequent years, I will still remember. The void will always be there. It will just be a reminder. So everybody grieves differently. The fact is that we just have to live with it.
Speaking about living with it, I understand that you are a master student.
Yes.
So I know, yeah, I know you might have had a few other achievements you would have, on a very normal day, or activities you would want to, get on with, but this particular grief might have put a certain halt to it or anything. Now I'm going to ask you this question because this is Faith on the Street. How did this loss of yours affect your relationship with God? I want to hear everything. We need to know, because if we don't know these things, we don't know how to go about them, right? Especially if we have loved ones who are going through this. How did it affect your relationship with God? Positively, negatively, in between, whatever it is. I'm all here for it.
I will have to be honest here, because when this whole thing started, I was more like challenging God. Why did you let this happen again? Do you get? She went through a lot the first time. So when this thing brought up again, she too had her own kind of little faith. She was like, sister, okay, why don't you go and give secret offering in the church for me? For someone in her condition, she had faith. For someone in her condition, had faith. She was like, sister, okay, remember we're going to see children, motherless babies. Please do that on my behalf. Do you get? And I marvel at the way so somehow it challenged me, but I was asking God, why? Look at her faith. Why did you let this happen to her again? I was like,
When she was still sick.
yes, and I'm like, God, you said affliction will not come a second time. This is a second time. Things like that. It makes her faith shake. Even while she was sick, even to pray was hard. Do you get? I remember there was this normal morning prayer I used to join, and then that period, I was too emotionally down to join in prayer. There were days she would ask me, sister, let's join. See the thing. I'm like, I don't have data. I was just too emotionally down to do stuff like that. I was just, it's a combination of a lot of things. You were not thinking, I'm like, God, why? Do you understand? So when she passed on, and I just told myself, or will I say, I had friends that could tell me this could be a revival, because I was like, oh my God, since you have allowed it to happen, see this small girl that is about to start her life, why would you allow this happen to her? Why did you allow her to die? So I think I had good friends that reminded me that for it to happen, God is aware. Because let me just use that, because if it were left to me, my faith would have been dead. I would be like, why? Because if not for anything, this little girl's faith alone should have, accounted for something. But I decided that, okay, let's, I don't know how to put it, but the truth is, I just said I had good friends that when I had such thoughts, they were they were kind enough. They were kind enough to put my man back and remind me that, see, in as much as your sister is dead, maybe she died to set me free, things like that. Because her illness made me, I was patrolling, trying to, just to be there for her. And then, her death was just to give me an opportunity to fly, things like that. That is, maybe it's God that took her so that she can no longer be a burden to me, to my family. Is, I think that's the best way. That's just the way it is. So, but if it were just left for me, my fate would have been
Okay, so your faith now. Let's be very more specific, because there's God, and then I think there is the representative on earth, which is the church. You're Christian, yeah?
yes, I am.
So I'd like to ask you, do you think at some point that there was something the church would have done for you, would have done for your family, would have done to save the situation, or, even before or after the death? Is there something you hold against?
I don't. I'm someone that have believed not to expect anything from anyone, so I don't get disappointed. But my church, we believe a lot in prophecy, and somehow the prophecy of our death was mentioned. Yes. So the church will now see the thing. The prophecy came on Sunday. I just went to church just to go and do what she asked me to do for the kids in my church and come back home. I was now forced to stay for service. So you can imagine, I didn't even want to go to church. Yeah. So but because she requested, sister, these children came to pray, because the kids in the church came to pray for her on Saturday, prior to the week she died. So, if it's about prayers and words of consolation, my church tried to an extent. So And she said, sister, since they came, please, I should just prepare something for them. Aside the fact that I bake, so I had to just get a few snacks. And
Oh, you bake.
yes, I
Talk about that sometime. Tell us.
so I had to prepare a few snacks, and then on her behalf I said, oh, she was appreciating them for coming to pray for her to you. So, and that Sunday a prophecy was like that she was going to die, that they are seeing a cloud of death around her, that the church is supposed to go and pray, that she's supposed to be brought to the church. So we already planned that Wednesday morning that we were supposed to bring her in church, and she died before that day. So so yeah, so obviously if it's about prayers and all that, I just say that my church have tried. Yeah, they did. Even the day she died, even though had she died that Wednesday morning, and they told the church that we are going that day to go and they bury her, I could tell you half of it people that came to church that they were in our house, some followed us to our village to go bury her. So I think my church, they did a lot already.
And this is good because we've had cases where people who are grieving, have issues with maybe their churches, the local churches, or, some other persons who they think, mentioning the church here is because this is a community that you belong to. We've got your village, and then there's the church, and some other places, maybe your places of work. We expect to a certain level solidarity or something. So I'm glad this happened in your church, and okay, this is a good news. So finally, all right, because I think we've talked for a long time, but I'm sure someone is watching who is grieving. I don't know why it's blowing so much breeze. I don't know if this is okay. but then I know somebody's watching this, and maybe someone who is grieving. I don't know the words to use for them, but I know you've been there. So are there just, it's just a few words? I know you are grieving, so I shouldn't be expecting you to do this, but this is charity, and I'm expecting you somehow. No, I'm not expecting you. I want you to please say something to someone grieving, something they understand, just to keep them going.
One thing I want anyone grieving to know is that the person we're grieving for would not want us to sit down and grieve. They want us to move on and live the life they may not have lived, and live this life for them. And that's my consolation. My sister would tell me, sister, you will not stop your life for me. And that is one thing that keeps me going. Anytime I feel down, Nigeria with the ebitins.
You don't understand that if you're not Nigerian, but it's okay. That's like a comic relief right now.
Oh,
Wow. A lot of breeze. I don't know what's happening, but we're good. So quickly.
so the thing is, at the end of it all, just live the life that if this person were here, that he or she would be proud of you in any way. Because I know my sister would not be happy if I sit down and be grieving for her, and I know how long it took. I know how I carried her and everything. And one thing she told me was like, and we'll never forget that statement, sister, you won't stop your life for me again. I did it once, and she wouldn't want me to do that again for her. So I'm telling whoever is grieving for someone that they died, or maybe they moved on to a better place, for them to give you a chance to blossom. And that is the message I can give you, because the pain is going to be there. That's the truth. See that hole is nobody's going to feel it, but live your life as though that person is with you. That's just it. That's the best.
You heard it from her. She said it's the best. And Nchedo, thank you so much for wanting to do this with me.
You're welcome.
I like that she's laughing at the end of this video. Can I give you? I think she's got her clothes on the line, so the breeze. But she's gonna go pick it anyway. Can I give you a hug? Does it work? This works all the time. I give special hugs in case you want hugs. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. I'm going to still continue with other people, but today it's Nchedo's story. Nchedo, your name again?
Nchedo Goodness Chuku.
And you make cakes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to tell you the truth. I eat her cakes and they're amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. Alrighty, thank you.